The date was April 18, 1943, and 4 young boys were poaching birds' eggs in Hagley Wood near Stourbridge, England. It was wartime Britain, and the dense woodlands offered both adventure and dangerous secrets. As they approached an ancient, sprawling wych elm, they noticed something unnerving about the largest trunk. Deep inside the hollow cavity of that tree, where the limbs twisted upward like skeletal arms, they found what looked like a skull staring back at them. The boys, terrified, quickly decided to swear an oath of silence. Fearing they would be punished for trespassing on the property, the youngest among them, 14-year-old Thomas Willits, couldn't keep the gruesome discovery to himself for long, burdened by the nightmare of the eyes staring out from the dark wood. He eventually confessed to his parents, and the police were soon called to the isolated wartime setting of the wood. What they found inside the wych elm was not a modern hoax or a simple animal remains, but the skeletal remnants of a woman tightly crammed into the vertical hollow. The remains were almost fully intact, placed head first, with a taffeta skirt, a gold wedding ring, and a pair of worn rayon shoes still clinging to the bones. The medical examiners determined the woman had been dead for at least 18 months, likely suffocated, with a piece of taffeta fabric found stuffed deep into her mouth. This immediately elevated the case from a grim discovery to a calculated act of murder. Yet the victim herself remained stubbornly unidentified. The police had a body in a location, but 0 witnesses. No missing persons report that matched the description, and a crime scene that seemed ripped from a macabre fable. The sheer difficulty of forcing an adult body into that narrow space suggested a killer with remarkable strength, or perhaps someone who had known how to maneuver the remains while the body was still pliable shortly after death. The question of who she was and how she ended up entombed in that specific solitary tree became the focus of intense, yet ultimately fruitless, investigation. The lack of identification became the primary barrier, leading investigators down convoluted paths involving everything from petty crime to international intrigue. This was 1943, a time saturated with spies, classified operations, and deep suspicion of anyone new or unfamiliar appearing in small British towns. Could this unknown woman have been a foreign agent, executed and then hidden by enemy operatives, seeking to silence her before she could compromise a mission? One leading theory involved a Dutch spy named Clara Bouwerel, who bore a striking resemblance to post-mortem sketches developed by experts, suggesting a connection to the network of Nazi agents working within the United Kingdom. Clara Bouwerel had vanished around the time the woman in the tree was estimated to have died, adding a layer of compelling coincidence to the theory of wartime espionage. However, despite exhaustive checks of intelligence records and international communications, the link between the skeleton and the alleged spy could never be definitively proven. The deeper investigators dug into the victim's identity, the more the case seemed to dissolve into folklore, giving rise to darker, more chilling possibilities far removed from the war effort. Locals began whispering about occult activities, drawing on the ancient tradition of placing bodies in trees and rituals. Fearing that the victim was the result of a dark pagan sacrifice gone unnoticed, the wych elm itself, often associated with powerful liminal spaces in English mythology, only fueled these speculations about witchcraft and sinister practices carried out in the shadows of the woods. It seemed that the truth, whatever it was too horrific or too unbelievable for the logical confines of the wartime police investigation. Then, nearly a year after the body was found, the case moved from police procedural to public haunting, propelled by a single, agonizing piece of graffiti. Scribbled in chalk on a wall in Birmingham, far from the quiet woods of Hagley, appeared the stark, accusatory question that would define the mystery for generations. The graffiti read, "Who put Bella in the wych elm?" This was the first time the public or the police had heard the name Bella associated with the remains, confirming that someone out there knew the victim, and perhaps even the killer. Over the next 30 years, the graffiti reappeared sporadically on walls, monuments, and bridges across the Midlands, always maintaining the same hauntingly specific query. The anonymous message transformed the unidentified victim into a tragic legend, personifying the deep secret that the wych elm held prisoner. Who was this graffiti artist, and why did they choose to communicate their knowledge in such a provocative yet unhelpful manner? Was it the killer, relishing the attention and the unsolvable nature of their perfect crime? Or was it a distraught witness or accomplice too afraid to speak to the authorities directly? The name Bella itself has never been verified through any official record or dental matching, leaving the possibility that Bella was a nickname, a code name, or even a deliberate misdirection by the writer. The confluence of espionage, dark rumors of ancient rituals, and the persistent, anonymous questions etched onto public spaces cemented the Wych Elm woman as one of Britain's most persistent true crime enigmas. To this day, forensic efforts continue to chip away at the mystery, utilizing modern DNA techniques on the few remaining artifacts associated with the case, hoping to finally restore a name to the bones. The Wych Elm, long since felled and removed, is gone, but the ghost of Bella and the unanswered question remain deeply rooted in the history of Hagley Wood. The terrifying circumstances of her death and the subsequent, eerie silence surrounding her identity challenge our understanding of history and the darkness that can hide in plain sight. The case of the Wych Elm woman remains perpetually open, a cold snapshot of wartime fear, local suspicion, and a secret that someone, somewhere, carried to their grave. We are left to wonder if the truth is more mundane, rooted in a tragic domestic quarrel, or if it lies tangled in the high stakes of international intelligence and the shadow world of espionage. The secrets that disappear into the English countryside are often the most compelling, demanding decades of persistent inquiry. If you are compelled by the dark corners of history, the anonymous warnings, and the true crime deep dives that refuse to be solved, then you need to explore further. We gather all the fragments of these terrifying historical puzzles and attempt to piece together the narratives the world forgot, always seeking the truth buried beneath the sensationalism. Don't let this mystery remain silent. Join the repository of knowledge dedicated to the chilling, the unsolved, and the truly strange. Hit the subscribe button on Curiosity Repo for more cases that refuse to release their dead.